thank you everyone for being here tonight. We know there were many open houses today and tonight, so we're happy that you took the time and came to the workshop. ¿Quién necesita traducción en español? ¿Quién necesita traducción en español, señora? Okay. There's two over there. ¿Sí? ¿Necesita? Okay, now that we kind of took care of that. Good evening, my name is Suzanne Berberian. I'm a community liaison specialist at the Welcome Center. The Welcome Center is a parent information and resource center, and it's situated at the education center, but it supports all schools and parents in all schools as far as parent engagement. If you read the back, it kind of explains, this is the program, and it kind of explains, you know, what we do as a Welcome Center. And my team member is Mrs. Jessica Hollins. She's also a community liaison specialist. So today, Mr. Scott Phelps, who is our board member, school board member, was going to be here to facilitate. Unfortunately, his neighbor, a very good friend of mine, he passed away, and this morning he said that he will not be able to be with us. So I stepped in. I'm not a professional facilitator, but I will do my best. Okay, I want to introduce you our panel. We have a very distinguished group of panelists. Each one of them will talk about in their area of expertise and share with you their knowledge. And each one of them have a specific time. And if you notice, we will follow the specific program that's listed here. So we will go by the order of, you know, who's listed. And then after we finish the presentations, we will start getting questions from the floor. So hold on to your questions. We will answer every one of them. And if there is no time to answer your call, we'll give you your question. We'll give you a card, make a note of it, and then we'll call you with the answer. But we're hoping that we'll be able to answer all your questions. Before introducing our distinguished panelists, I would like to acknowledge Dr. Fal Asrani. Dr. Asrani is our Chief Executive Director of Secondary Education. She's been with us for about 2 months. 3 months, okay. So thank you for taking the time and being with us. All right, first we will start with Dr. Mark Anderson, yes, Principal of Marshall. So who's coming to Marshall next year? All right. He's a very important man, kids. You need to know him, and parents too. And then we have Ms. Lorena Martinez, Elliott Principal. She's very important for you guys to know when you get to Elliott. And then we have Ms. Coors, counselor at Elliott School, but she was also counselor at Marshall. So your counselors are very important. You need to have that important and very close relationship with your counselor. And then we have Mr. Ivan Harris. Did I say yours? Yes. Yes. And he's a teacher. You know, teachers are important too. So he's going to talk about homework and things like that, how things change. And Mr. Tanner is a parent from Pasadena High School, but he also has a child at Sierra Madre. He will talk to us as a parent how his role changed, or if it changed, when he went from being an elementary parent to a middle school parent. And our star of the show, we have Cora here. Cora Jerome is a 6th grade student at Wilson. She was at Field when she was in 5th grade. So she's going to tell us, did things change when she went to middle school? Was she scared? Was she anxious? Was it worth it, all being anxious or scared? We don't know. So we will start with Dr. Anderson.
All right, thank you. The first thing she said to me is, she said, don't talk a lot about Marshall, but I can't help myself. I love the school so much. And I'm so happy to see all you Marshall people back there. Your family now, I love you all. One of the great things, they gave me a series of questions to talk about, and I won't take the full 10 minutes. But the first one is, what does a middle school day look like? All the middle schools now have a period 1 through 6 schedule. Some of them used to have block schedules, but they've all changed away from that. So as opposed to being with one single teacher, they will go have their different classes with different teachers. They will take a set curriculum. All of them will have English, they will all have math, they will all have social studies, science, PE, and then they get to choose an elective. The electives vary a little bit at the schools. There's robotics, there's music and arts, orchestra, band, etc. Marshall is the only middle school that has in 6th grade self-contained classes, which means we do keep you with the same teacher for the entirety of the school day for 6th grade only, and then you transfer in 7th grade. The other schools you'll share your day between 2 teachers. So one will do math and science, one will do English and social studies with you. There's a break, we call it nutrition, which is kind of a misnomer because usually the kids don't eat nutritious food, but the idea is they should be. And we'll have about 10 minutes in the morning, they eat nutrition, and then they have a lunch period, which is about 30 minutes at each school during the day. Another question that they have is, how can parents best support the child as they move to middle school, and what are the communication avenues to keep everyone informed? You know, it's interesting. I think my response to this always varies on the day. The first thing, online profiles have an age limit. If you are going to allow your child to set up Facebook, Instagram, a Kik account, mind you, they have to be of a certain age, and that age is not 11 or 12. So be prepared to deal with adult ramifications for letting your kids play in the adult world. So almost all the problems I deal with at school are related to online incidents. And the second thing I'll tell you I've learned from kids, I call them in and I say, show me your Facebook account, because they will say something, and they'll pull one up and they say, oh no, this is the one my mom knows about. Let me show you the other one. So many children have 2 Facebook accounts, 2 Instagram accounts, and because they're smart and they know you're going to check one of them. So be very aware of your children's online activity. That is where they post things about other people. They'll watch movies and they'll see something provocative, and the girls or the boys begin to think, oh, I'm an adult, and they take pictures as if they are a sexy adult or a hunky man, and they are not. And you need to be aware of what they are doing. So please monitor online activity. The next thing is be aware of the new things. You know, Kik is the new way that they're messaging each other. I'm dealing with a situation now with the Kik program. Everything gets saved to a server, so it's traceable back to your child. So you want to be very careful of how they're communicating with people. And that's up to you. So you're going to do that at home, so you do that, and we'll monitor the electronics as best we can here at the school. The other thing with communications, generally all the schools, we send out a weekly phone blast telling you what's happening at the school, what is going on. That phone blast is coupled with an email in case you didn't get it. But listen to the phone blast. It'll keep you informed of so many things that are happening. There's also, I know at Marshall we send out a parent newsletter, a hard copy, twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year, to parents in your home. So you do get a copy of what is going on at the school, what are the events that are happening, what are the clubs, how can my child get involved. And then the other way is the parent portal, and I'll talk about that in a minute. The second thing is, if you have a question about the school and you have something, if you have a question about a class, your first point of contact would be that teacher. Most teachers respond better to email, and if you would rather talk on the phone, I would email them and say, can you please call me? Because they're teaching all day, it's hard for them to have access to talk. So if you email them is the best way to get in contact with the teachers. Then when you call the school, some people get shocked. I don't know the answer to everything. For example, one parent asked me a question about how to check out a book the other day from the library, and I honestly don't know how. And she looked at me and I said, well, go ask the librarian. He's the one who will check out the books. And she was kind of like, well, you're the principal. Shouldn't you know how to check out books? Some people at an elementary school, the principals wear a lot more hats than they do at a middle school. We have a lot more students. Marshall being the biggest one, we have almost 2,000 kids here. Most of the other ones are going to have about 600 to 700 kids. So our roles are a little bit different. So if you call the office and you have a question, don't demand the principal. Usually state what it is, and they will direct you to the person that can best help you. If it's a library book question, they'll get you the librarian. If it's a discipline question, they'll get you the dean. If it's a curriculum question, they'll get you the person that oversees curriculum. And then oftentimes, you know, if you walk in, That's usually what'll happen. So understand that because it's a much bigger system, there's so many more people involved, and sometimes that makes communication more difficult, but it's important to learn who are the right people. The counselor is also another great resource that, I don't know what's going on, go to the counselor and they could always point you in the right direction as well. So that's a great way to get involved. So know who are the people that are overseeing what and to get involved. If you don't know, just call the school, talk to the office manager, and he or she will direct you to the right person. Another great way to monitor, and I don't know if they do this at elementary school, is through the parent portal. What the parent portal is when you go to registration, they'll ask you, do you want the parent portal? And your answer should be yes. They'll give you a secret code, and it's up to you to keep the secret, that is just for your children. And if you have more than one children, it's one code for your family. You log in and you get access to the school's database system. So, as soon as your child is marked absent or tardy, you look on the calendar, oh look, you were absent, or your child comes home, I noticed that you were tardy to third period today. What were you doing at nutrition? And they'll be shocked. How do you know? You see it live. The other thing is you get live access to the teacher's grade books. So at Marshall, 100% of the teachers are involved in the parent portal. So you're in math class and they have a test. Well, as soon as the teacher puts the test grade in, you see it, see what your child's current grade is. You don't have to wait for a 5-week progress report. There's also a student portal. So your students can get their own login, and they log in and they can keep track of it. And so they could start thinking about, what is my grade? What do I need to do better? And if they're missing an assignment, a huge red box shows up where that assignment's supposed to be, and that's bad. So then you know right away, hey, I need to get on this assignment, get my late work turned in. So the parent portal and the student portal are great tools to help keep you involved with what is going on. And then it has the teacher's name. So if you're looking at something like, this doesn't make sense, I know my child was there that day, you just click the teacher's name and it opens up an email, and you could send an email to the teacher. So it's a really fast way and a really efficient way to communicate. And the teachers love it too, because it's such an easy way. Well, have you checked the parent portal? That's the list. I don't have to type you out a list. I don't have to print you out a list. You could do it straight from home of the list of assignments. And the teachers, if they put the assignments in early, there's a calendar that shows up, and you see upcoming work, upcoming projects due, upcoming assessments. So that is a great way to get involved and to keep track of what is going on with your students. So when they come to you saying parent portal or student portal, jump on that really, really fast. The next role is, what is the role of the Pasadena Police Department on the middle school campuses? That does vary from school to school. Mostly they're very much advisory. They counsel kids. The PPD is a little bit more active at the high school level, but with the middle school, they are not permanent at any middle school in our district. They only get called there if there's a reason, and not just a fight or anything. If your child, not your child, if someone else's child who's not here gets caught with things like drugs or marijuana, then PPD would be called in to talk to that child, and based on it, they could choose to assess. I always have to tell people, I'm not the police, so I cannot give a ticket, but the police can. And I don't control if they choose to or not to. So if your child, not your child, if someone else's child had marijuana on campus, because you know yours wouldn't, then we know that PPD can do those things. So they come in, they're mostly advisory. Sometimes they'll come around at lunch. They're very friendly. I know the ones that I know are all very friendly. They'll talk to the kids. They'll talk to them. One thing that really stresses parents out, so I'll make it clear, is they can talk to your child without your permission. So some parents think, oh wait, I want to know if there's an investigation, if I'm talking, that you're not going to know until usually after it's happened. And I know that's a big stress for what's going on. One thing, and that leads me to, they said, how can you help your child in the middle school? And one of the best ways is to let your child face their challenges. I was just telling a parent that says she's coming to Marshall next year, and I said, hey, what can I do the best? And I said that kids actually have a pretty easy time coming to middle school. The parents have a really hard time with it. Plus, because your child is now going to begin to not like you. You are going from cool hero to like, oh mom, I know everything, you don't know anything, you are so not cool, you're such a dork. That change is happening to your kids in middle school, and that's not Marshall or Elliot's or anyone else's fault. That's just the nature of it. Oh, thank you, I see my time. So I want to end. So my mother, she's on this kick right now where she sends me quotes every day to be inspiring. And she sent me a quote that I think is perfect for helping your kids with facing middle school, and it's about facing challenges. And it says, if we are and have always been shielded from the small disappointments and challenges that are encountered in life, when we are faced with the greater ones, we may not have developed the bravery and determination to overcome them. On the other hand, if we are allowed to and encouraged to face up to adversity and make the most of lesser situations, we gain wisdom and strength to see us through the major challenges that ultimately fall on nearly everyone. Working through a smaller problem develops mental strength that ensures a measure of success when major problems occur. Your kids are going to have problems, socially, emotionally, academically. It's a phase in life. Do not protect and shield them. Let them work through it, and they'll become much better adults because of it. Thank you very much.
I have to follow that. Okay, I'm Lorena Martinez, and I'm the principal at Elliott Middle School. They asked me to talk about the unique signature programs in our middle schools. So let me tell you about, at Elliott, we're working towards being an arts school. I know that McKinley is already an arts school, performing arts. Washington is going to be opening in the fall as a STEM and STEAM Academy, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Arts magnet. Blair offers a great IB program, International Baccalaureate program. Marshall has a pre-AP program. And all of us offer robotics and dance, music, a very robust elective program. And foreign language as well. AVID, honors programs, I said that. LEARNS is an after-school program. Also, on some campuses, I believe it's in before school. Most of us offer the LEARNS program for after-school activities. Some of the programs are geared towards the arts. We have the sports through LEARNS. So that is across the district. What I really would like you to think about is the fact that we are a fabulous alternative and a fabulous program for your middle school kids. We have so many things to offer. It's really important that you look at the different programs, look at the different schools. We have times when you can come to our school to see the school, to be on our campus, to go into the classrooms, because you know your child the best, and you know what they need, and you know what's best for them as far as their academics and social. So come and visit our schools. Make appointments always. Some of us have different times. Ours is on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock in the morning, but every school has a different time for our tours. So please make appointments if you're still interested in doing that. Come to our school, go to the orientations. Very, very important that you get to know the teachers and the school and the principals. Our schools, most of them are a little bit smaller in the middle school, so you have an opportunity to meet us, get to know us, be a part of our African American Parent Councils, our PTA, our ELACs. We have many opportunities for parents so that you can see what we have to offer, okay? The other question, asked me to do the honors core courses. Most of I think all of us have the honors core courses. That is, in some of the schools we have the pre-AP or we have the IB, but we also offer a course of study that would get you ready for college. For example, in foreign language now, you have to have 4 years of foreign language to go to a university. So most of us are preparing to offer a foreign language in 8th grade to prepare for that. The last thing I wanted to talk about was the parents' role. And I'm not sure how different that is from Mr. Harris is going to be speaking about. I've been there. I understand where you all are at. I have right now, I'm the mother of a 10th grader, a 9th grader, an 8th grader, a 7th grader, a 6th grader, and a 3-year-old. So I know where you've been. Every year is a transition for me. Every year I see the same thing. And it's funny because, as Dr. Anderson was saying, it's interesting when parents come to the school, to middle school, and they say, you know, he was a great kid, he was perfect, and your school, something just happened. And across the board, all of the middle schools, all of the principals say the same thing. It's not the school, it's the time, it's the age, it's that, the time of a child's life where they're trying to find out who they are. And it's so much fun. Those of us in middle school, we love middle school. We understand middle schoolers. We know what they're going through. And I think the most important thing for you as a parent is that structure, that you continue, even if they push you away, that you continue to be part of their life, that you continue to ask them how was their day, even when they're obnoxious and not so much fun anymore. I think it's so important that we know who their friends are, that we know how they're doing in classes, that we ask them every day, that we connect with our kids every single day. Whether, I'm here, I'm not having dinner with my kids tonight. I work long hours, but I connect with every single one of them somehow every day. And some of them, 2 or 3 of them, wake up in the morning early to see me, and we have coffee or we have hot chocolate or something. But I think a parent's role as you make this transition is just to connect. Sometimes we think that in elementary schools when they need us. To me, it's much more important, and they need us even more in middle school, because that's the time that they're making decisions that are going to affect them for the rest of their life. And it's that important. So, congratulations on making it to almost middle school, and have fun. Like I said, I love this age. They're a lot of fun. They're so excited about learning, and the possibilities in the world are so exciting right now. We don't even know the kind of jobs that they're getting prepared for at this point. The computers and technology are growing so quickly that they may be the ones that are designing the future, and they are. So enjoy them, have a good time, and we will answer any questions afterward about the specific programs if you have more. No yellow card.
Good evening. My name is Carolyn Coors, and I'm the counselor. I'm going to answer the question, what class requirements must my child complete in order to be promoted to high school? That is a very important question. But before that, I do want to tell you, you have not had a counselor. What does the counselor do on the middle school campus and the high school campus? The counselor takes the place of the parent. For you students, the counselor is your best friend. So as soon as you get onto your middle school campus, you want to seek the counselor and start getting involved and make friends with that counselor, okay? And this is true even for high school, because the counselor will help you with any kind of issue you have. Before you go to the principals, you want to first come to the counselor and see if the counselor can help you. And I know all of you will not be together in one particular school. Y'all will be spreading. Some of you will go to Elliott, some of you will go to Marshall. So you will not have the same friends you had at your elementary school. So it is very important that you find somebody on the campus who will help you when you have questions to ask. I am also referring to bullying. Sometimes when you come into the middle school, you see things happening at the middle school. You want to immediately tell your parents, and parents should call the counselor, or the student should be free to come and talk with the counselor, okay? So that is one important thing. Remember one thing, on the middle school campus, by October, you will have tons of friends. Don't be afraid of that. You will make friends, and you will go with them for the next 3 years, okay? Let me talk about the classes you have. You have this in your packet. It is this gives you a rough idea of what classes you have. You have the same classes in 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. It's your language arts or your English, it's your math, it's your science, your history, and your PE, and your elective class. The first 4 classes are called the core classes, okay? And it is very important that you pass all of these classes in 6th grade, in 7th grade, and in 8th grade. so that you can make a smooth transition into high school. I have also given you the minimum requirements for graduation in high school. Let me point to one very important feature on that flyer. It's the high school exit exam. By the time you are in 12th grade, you must pass, and this is a state requirement, you must pass the English and the math. So all of the classes you have in 6th, 7th, and 8th, they are important so that you can pass the KC, it's called the KC, the high school exit exam in high school. At different schools, we have different electives. We have, in some schools, we have the regular electives like art, music, the PE elective, and in some schools there's computers. In some schools there is also foreign language. Foreign language is usually Spanish or French. French is in the high school. Some schools in middle school also have Spanish. It all depends on our budget and how we can do that. But those are the electives. At Elliott, I can say that we have dance, we have robotics, and we have drama next year. Okay? So this is the format. It is not very grueling. It is something that you have already done in an elementary school. All you have to do is you have to pass the classes. Now let me tell you one more thing. The school year is divided into 2 parts. It starts in August and it ends in June, okay? Every 5 weeks you get a progress report. At that time, parents, if you see grades and you are not happy with them, your child used to be an A, B student, and suddenly you see C's and D's, you want to call the counselor at once. Don't wait till the next grading period, because it is important that you speak with the teachers. It is important that you get a parent-teacher conference going. You want to know what is keeping your child from not getting the help that he or she needs, okay? We've got ways to do that. At Elliott, we have something called a daily progress report, where the student gets that progress report and takes it to each one of the teachers and then takes it home to the parent to show whether the student was on time, whether the student has turned in the homework, whether the student has turned in the classwork. This is important information. You must be on top of them so that by the end of that first semester, they have passing grades. It is very important that at the semesters, your child passes all classes, because then they will be able to promote to high school. Okay, so that is something that you want to keep in mind. We have also something called an SST. It is a student study team, where the student and all of the teachers, the parent is involved if your child is not able to be successful in the classes. And we have a more in-depth, what can we do? How can we help? We have intervention classes for math and English, and maybe your child needs a little extra push in the math and English, and that is something the counselor will do. So do not hesitate to pick up the phone and call the counselor. I know the principals are busy, and sometimes the teachers are in class, but it is the counselor on the campus, on the middle school campus, who will give you all of the help. Okay? My next question to answer is, what enrichment, honors, and athletic programs are available? Enrichment, all of these, like Mrs. Martinez said, can be honors classes. Okay? We look at the CST scores, which we get in August, and we place the students according to the CST scores. So if you feel that your child can do an honors class, you need to come in and talk to the counselor and the teacher and the principal. Okay? In the enrichment, some of our students are GATE identified, and they get the necessary GATE grouping that we have at all of the middle schools. Also, I've talked to you about the honors. The honors students are then able to get into AP classes in high school. And if you take a look at the yellow flyer I have given you, it has on the reverse side the required A through G courses. These are the courses that you are looking at for your university. Okay, and these universities like the Cal State and the UC schools, they want you to do the best job you can in high school and bring A's and B's and C's to their campus. So this is something you want to look at. This is the reason you want to do well in middle school. This is the start of your journey. All of you should be looking at going to college. There is no reason why you should not go to college. If you have financial needs, you get all of that information in high school. There are scholarships available for you, but you need to show that you are doing a good job in middle school and in high school, okay? Then the last thing I need to talk about is the athletic programs. We have on our campuses soccer, basketball, softball, track and field, football. We have also aerobic training. We have strength training. Cheer. Yeah, we have a cheerleaders group that our PE teacher conducts. I must also plug our fitness center at Elliott. We have a fitness center. We won a $100,000 gymnasium at Elliott. It was the governor's challenge, and our PE teachers got together, and we won that, so we have that on our campus. We also have the fitness room, and Mr. Hart did tell me I needed to mention that there is fitness testing and fitness training in our fitness center. So that's it, and if you have any questions later on, feel free to ask us. Thank you.
Okay, good evening. I'm Mr. Harris. I'm the sixth grade teacher up at Elliott, and I want to just speak a little bit about homework expectations. When your child comes home, they should have homework every day. The only day they may not have homework, and that depends on the teacher from school to school, is Friday. There are some teachers that I know, especially like in the math and some of the English classes, they do give a homework assignment on Fridays that is due on Monday. But every day your kid will have homework, whether it's in math, whether it's in English. The science and history may vary, but every day for math and English, they have homework. There's some assignment that they have. A lot of times what happens when they get home, you'll ask them, hey, you got homework today? Oh, I did it at school. Or, oh, I did it in the after-school program. And that's okay if they did say that, or if they do say that, just ask to see it. Say, let me see it. Where's it at? Because a lot of the teachers, they also send home kind of like a homework log where they want you to sign off on it. And it kind of helps track the homework. So if they are finishing their homework after school or in an after-school program, or they say they did it in class, just say, hey, can I see it? Let me see what you did. Let me see what you finished. And it kind of keeps them on their toes. Because a lot of times in our busy schedules as parents, when the homework comes home, you ask, hey, you got homework? And yeah, I did it already. And you kind of get, okay, that's fine. Ask to see it. But they will have homework every day. How much time should they spend on homework? That's kind of hard to say. It varies. I know my students will at least have, between me and my partner teacher, at a minimum, they'll have an hour's worth of homework. We're not trying to overload them with a lot of homework, but between the math, that's a good 20, 30 minutes worth of homework, either something they didn't finish in class or a continuation of a homework assignment. With the English, it's the same type of thing. They're doing something with grammar or some other type of lesson. And then reading is usually scheduled every night. We like children to read at least a minimum of 20 minutes. There's some students out there that like to read longer, but we're trying to get them to read at least at a minimum 20 minutes. And that's something they can also keep track of. There's usually like a reading log that comes home as well, and they keep track of the book they're reading. and the minutes they read or the pages they read, depending on the teacher. So in actuality, they might have about 90 minutes of homework. It seems like a lot, but we try to keep it to about an hour, because usually when school starts back, there's some students who started soccer, or they're playing football. It's football season, or baseball season comes around, or basketball. So there's some extracurricular activities that they're also doing when they get out of school. And by the time usually they get home, they're a little tired. So you need to set aside some kind of habit for them. Like, this is our homework time. Either when they get right home from school, or maybe after they get home at 6 o'clock, or if you can come up with something consistent, a consistent time where they come home every day, they know this is homework time. Because a lot of times what we're finding out is it's hard to figure out how students will study. Do I do it when I come home? Do I do it after dinner? Do it after practice? I'm tired, I'm not tired. There's a lot going on. But if you get a routine where they can do homework every day at a certain time, that's very helpful for them too. But they expect them to have homework every day. The books do come home, depending on what they're doing. It may be a math book, maybe an English book, maybe a history book, or that science book. They do get heavy, but they're just books, and they are coming home. So just keep track of that. So that's the expectation, that you will see homework every day. Dr. Anderson mentioned earlier, the best way to get in touch with a teacher, I always tell my parents, send me an email. If you send me an email, I check my emails usually during nutrition and lunchtime, I can get back to you right away. If you call the school, I'm gonna get a note in my mailbox that I might not see to the end of the day, and I do try to return the phone call, if not that evening, by the next day. But if you send an email, I'm gonna get right back to you on that. That's probably the best way to get a hold of your teacher, unless you have a teacher that doesn't mind you stopping by the classroom. If you're a parent, I always welcome my parents to come by, visit the classroom, pop in, stop by, have a seat, make surprise visits, all those wonderful things. But the best way is probably through emails. One of the other things that I see on here, what should you know before your kid starts middle school? Basically, no fear. A lot of parents, I'm sending my baby to the big school, and it's going to be all these big kids. And if you visit any middle school, the kids differ in size. We have kids that are taller than me in 6th grade, and some that probably look like they should be in 4th grade, and they're in 6th grade. So the sizes vary. All the kids get along. Usually after that first month, after the shyness wears off and the newness wears off, I always say they become a really true middle school kid. But don't have any fear. The teaching staffs are really well. There's a lot of support from the counselors. There's a lot of support from the security staff on campus, even the custodians on campus. Most adults on campus are there to support the kids. Depending on the school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I know at our site, the 6th and 7th graders have a separate lunch than the 8th graders. So we don't have everybody out there all at once. But I would just say don't have any fears. The students are going to come to school. They're going to do well. They're going to meet their new teachers. They're going to meet a lot of new friends from all different types of elementary schools. And it usually is a very smooth transition from the elementary school to the middle school. It's a fun time, a lot of excitement, but I wouldn't be afraid. I think the parents are more afraid than the students, just that they're going to a bigger school. But once the kids get there, if you watch them, they meet friends, they see people they know, they identify right away what's going on. This is my friend, or, I remember them from this school. So it's kind of a really good, smooth transition. So that kind of works out well. That's really about it in a nutshell. I know there may be some questions at the end of this that I could probably answer a little bit better. But just remember, homework every day. They're coming home with homework every day. Get in touch with your teacher, get their email address as soon as you can, back to school night, things like that. And don't be afraid, let them go. They'll be okay. Dr. Anderson spoke on it quite a bit about, there are going to be some challenges, and they'll work out the challenges, and they'll have a lot of growth. The students I have right now that are getting ready to transition to 7th grade, I can see the growth from when they started in August. They seem a little young and babyish, but right now they're ready for 7th grade. So it's a good time. All right, thank you.
Wow. So how do you become an expert? Well, you just got to do it, right? Some of you have heard the term 10,000 hours to be an expert in something. Well, that's sort of what it's like, I think, to be a parent, right? So how did I get to be in this spot? My name's Steve Tanner. Well, I've got an 8th grade son and a 9th grade daughter. We've had a great time through the last 9 years of education here in PUSD. My children both went through the Sierra Madre School program, and my daughter and son will be, my daughter's at PHS, my son will be there in just a very, very short few months. So there were a handful of questions that Jennifer and Suzanne wanted us to talk about a little bit from the parent perspective. So I thought I'd just sort of cover a few based on the little bit of experience that I've gained over the last few years. So I'd like to start first of all with what I thought was a really compelling statement that I heard a couple of years ago. My son was involved with Little League, and we invited a speaker to come in, and he happened to be a high school coach, and he was talking to all these Little League dads and coaches, and he says, "All right, gentlemen, ladies, your goal is to prepare your athlete or your baseball player for the next level. That is really your objective. It doesn't matter if you're teaching t-ball, farm, minors, or majors." And so the next level, I think, for us as parents in the school is getting your child from an elementary school program to a middle school program. Really, middle school is getting ready for high school. High schools, we're getting them ready for either a 4-year program in college or a career choice of some sort. So if you think of that as your main role, I think a lot of things start falling into place. So how would that be? Well, what did I learn the first year that I was in middle school? Well, it's only been 4 years ago. But I think the one thought that came to me was get involved as soon as you can. Don't wait until you're a 7th grade parent or an 8th grade parent. The teachers in 6th grade, which we could probably attest to here, need as much help as any of the teachers from 1st through 5th. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in the classroom. It could certainly be at activities. It could be behind the scenes. But the reality is, if you don't get involved then, all of a sudden at 7th grade, it's, oh man, all those cool things I could have done with my child and all their friends the first couple of years to get more involved and to get to know their friends and their families, I think you'll find it's going to be a great fit for you. One of the thoughts also that really struck me, my wife Marlena, for those who have met, and I, for the last couple of years, have done slideshows for the end of the year. So we did a 5th grade slideshow for those that were leaving, our son and daughter that were leaving. Now we're working on the 8th grade slideshow. We've seen all these kids from kindergarten all the way through 8th grade, and you look at them and you say, well, wow, I wish I would have gotten to know the kids a year or two ahead of them, because now I get to see them in high school. So as a 6th grade parent, as a 6th grader, try to get to know some of the 7th grade kids and families, some of the 8th graders, because I guarantee you will see them in a year or two once you get to the next level. And especially here at Wilson, since it goes through 12th grade, it'd be great, wouldn't it, to have a couple of mentors helping your child through maybe a sport or a club or an athletic activity or an event that may be a year or two ahead that's got a little bit more experience than they do. So I think in our case, that was one of the things that I felt I would have done the first year that I gotten started. All right, how do you get involved in a middle school? Well, quite frankly, just walk right in, let people know what you can do, or if you find a need, try to fill it. I know that at Sierra Madre we have a very strong volunteer group. I would guarantee that culture exists in different ways at each of the middle schools that you're going to. So how do you get involved? Well, PTA is certainly one that you may already be aware of. Volunteering in the classroom, some teachers are going to be very excited about that. I can guarantee you that the math classes generally will benefit from a parent or two that have a skill maybe in pre-algebra or algebra, to work with either the honors classes or some of the kids that need a little bit extra help. As a personal example, for the last 2 years, I worked with Mr. Antonian, who's a 7th grade teacher, and he had a lot of students that were really pretty strong, but they weren't really getting some of the subject matter. So I would just go in an hour a week and I'd work with a group of about 6 or 7 students. We just go off and work on some of the material, and I'd like to bring a lot of real-life experience to the classroom, because that's just the way I like to think, and that's what made sense for me as a kid. And generally what happens is that group of students, 5 or 6 students, really starts mastering the material that they couldn't do if it's 30 or 40 people in a room with one adult trying to work with them. Okay, so if you've got any kind of strengths, it could be language arts, could be English, I'm thinking science labs would be another example. If you have a particular talent or skill, or just you're organized, most schools have a science lab that could use some help. And I don't know if that exists here to the same degree at Marshall, but I know it's here in Monterey. A lot of parents get involved there. PE, I was really gung-ho from 7th grade through 5th grade in PE, and I thought, wow, let's keep it going in 6th grade. Well, the reality is most of the students are like, well, okay, fine, I knew you in 5th grade. I sort of like you around in 6th grade, but we want to do our own thing, and we have a coach that helps us. So PE is sort of cool, but I think really what generally happens is the after-school programs can use a lot of parent help as well. So if you happen to enjoy a sport, or if you're into a particular after-school activity, I can guarantee you the coaches that are officially assigned to the duty can use a parent or 2 on each team to help them out. For those of you that like to use the internet, I happened to browse a couple of websites before coming tonight, and one of them is schoolfamily.com. And all I did is I went to Google and I just said, middle school parent information, or how to be a better middle school parent. And this had like quite a few cool tips. I had like 10 tips for middle school parents. And one of the ones that didn't come to mind, but I think you might find interesting, is if you've got a flexible schedule and can work a little bit behind the scenes, teachers, administrators, a principal can always use some help in the office. They can use help organizing activities, and you don't necessarily have to be in a classroom. Maybe you can spend an hour a month or something just helping out in an office kind of role. Many of you I know have some flexibility in your schedule. I think that's a pretty cool opportunity, and I can assume that every middle school would need that. One of the areas that I happen to enjoy is getting activities organized. If a school of, this is, how big of a school is this? How many students?
There's about 1,850.
1,850 students. All right, so plus or minus, let's say 1,500 families, maybe 1,400 families here. If you had at least one representative from 1/3 of the families helping with activities, I guarantee you the culture of the school will go up and stronger, because you've got people that you're going to meet. Kids are going to meet you, they're going to see you on the street, they're going to see you outside of school, and your parents, those parents will be more comfortable about the kids that they're hanging around with here at this school and the different activities. So I would say chaperoning at dances, hanging out, helping out, cleaning up, organizing activities, every school needs that. And I think from a parent perspective, that's a great way to get involved without necessarily being in your child's face that you might have been in 2nd through 5th grade, because they may not appreciate that anymore. How's it different? I think that, you know, in my opinion, your student doesn't mind you being around, they just don't want you around all the time. And that may or may not be true in your particular family's case. My children were very flexible and really appreciated us being around, but we weren't necessarily in their class. We were helping kids in the class next door, or at the same grade level, because we happen to know them. So I think that's probably one of the biggest differences. And the other thing I think is having students involved. At the elementary school level, most students don't feel as confident, or you may not be as confident in their ability to help with an activity. But in middle school, quite frankly, you know, these young people can think for themselves. So if you ask them to do something, generally they'll be able to pitch in and help out. So I think that in a way is also a great way to not only get you involved, but is also a difference from the elementary school experience. So what is the best way to support my child in middle school? Well, I put a whole bunch of notes in here, but quite frankly, I think from our experience, study habits, helping your student learn those as soon as possible is probably the biggest thing that you can guide your student to do. I happen to be a pretty smart student, but I wasn't a good student. And what does that mean? Well, I knew the material, but I wasn't a great studier, and that wasn't really something that I built into my style, and my parents didn't work with me on that particular thing. So if you happen to have some structure and you think that that's something you can convey to your child and help them feel more confident in material, quite frankly, it's all about putting the time in, right? So the more quality time you put in what you're doing, the better you'll get at it. Doesn't matter if it's math, science, sports, reading, dancing, anything that you do with some passion and put some consistency to it, I think that's one of the key things you can help your student do, definitely at the middle school level. You've heard at least from two folks about Parent Portal. I was not, really gung-ho about Parent Portal because I really didn't see the value. But I can guarantee you my wife, every day, at least twice a day, is monitoring it. Not because we're worried about our kids not doing something, but we wanted to say, hey, they did homework last night. Did it get checked in? Did they get a yes or a no on homework? Because if we knew it was there, but the teacher didn't get it for some reason, at least we can follow up on that. And many of your children will have their grades reflected based on whether homework assignments are handed in or not. Also about grading, you and the teacher and your student might have 3 different opinions on what a grade might have been on a particular assignment. If you can see what that grade was within a day or 2 after it being posted, I have a feeling that you can have an immediate feedback loop with your teacher. And also, I would think most teachers are pretty open to a quick conference if you've got a concern about how your student is either learning the material or excelling at the material, or if they're getting A's but they don't seem to get it at home. Is there something with the grading policy that maybe is not necessarily lax, but it's not looking at the right things? Last comment. How do you get, I think, the best experience in middle school? In my opinion, it's getting your kids involved with fun competitions, extracurricular activities, Odyssey of the Mind, History Day, Math Field Day. Those are things that if you haven't been involved with, you'll hear about. And I think if you can get involved in at least one of those things once or twice over the next year or two, your student's going to make some new friends and have a chance of building confidence in areas that they wouldn't get just doing things in the classroom. So I look forward to your questions in a few minutes, and I'm going to hand it on to our real expert, right over here.
Thank you, Mr. Tanner. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Cora Hidon. And what is it like being in middle school? Well, at first it's a little scary, but once you get there, it's not that bad. Like after a week or two, you're like, hey, it's not that bad. I actually kind of like it. And they do give you a schedule, and currently we're on a block schedule, and that's when you have English and math every day, and you alternate between history and science and your elective and PE. And I really like that because it makes it easier. And what do you like about middle school and what is challenging? I really like the block schedule, like I just said. Anyways, I also like how the teachers are so supportive. Like, say you fail a math quiz, my teacher will not take an F. She will let you take about 4 quizzes, redo quizzes, and this one time I failed a history quiz, and I went up to my teacher and I said, what can I do to bring up the quiz? How can I redo it? And he said, do a project. He didn't tell me what to do or didn't give me any information about it, and he made a video based on my favorite book, which is The Hunger Games, and he liked it so much he had to tell the principal. And the homework is really clear, and we have this agenda, and it has a little box for each section, and it's so you write it down, and sometimes our teachers check it, and I have my mom check it, and yeah. And so what's challenging is we do get a lot of homework, and if I get it on the weekends and I want to say like I want to do something on Saturday, and I say I'm going to the movies with my friends, my mom makes me do my homework first, and so I could just get it aside, and it makes it so much easier. And yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Oh, and
Lunch like.
I like lunch because I can sit with my friends and talk, and because I can't really talk in class, and yeah.
What was the first day like?
The first day was kind of scary, and I only stuck with my friends from my old school, which was Field. And after like a couple of months, I met new friends, and my teachers had us do this exercise where we go around the classroom and meet someone new that we didn't know, and that really helped me. And now I rarely ever hang out with some of my old friends, but I still do.
What activities do you do?
There's an after-school program called Girls on the Run, and I've been doing it since 4th grade, and I really like it. And and there's drum corps, there's band, there's flag girls, and there's lion heads, and stage crew, which you could practice, like you can work the lights and stuff, and yeah.
Okay, thank you, Farah. Thank you.
Thank you to our panelists. Before moving on to your questions, just want to point out a few things. I hope all of you have a copy of this high school graduation requirement that Mrs. Coors was talking about. If you don't, let Mrs. Hollins know and she'll give you a copy. This was not in your packet. It was on the table next to the sign-in sheet. Again, in your sign-in sheet, Mrs. Coors talked, in your packets, Mrs. Coors talked about all the classes that a middle school student needs to take. It's in your packet. Also, Mr. Tanner talked about parent volunteering. I know they don't want us maybe to be with them on campus in middle school, but there's a sheet in your handouts. It talks about how to volunteer. Mr. Tanner mentioned about chaperoning, and it specifically explains how you become a chaperone, which is basically you need to be cleared by the district for you to be able to chaperone. But as a parent, if you wish to volunteer at your school under the supervision of a teacher or anybody else, it's very simple. You just go to your office and say, hey, I have a few hours in a week, or this is what I want to do, and they will tell you to go to the district offices, get a free TB test, and then you can volunteer. And schools have volunteer coordinators, because when you are under the supervision of a teacher, you just need to complete a short application, have a TB test, and that's it. But when you go as a chaperone or when you are not supervised by a teacher, it's a different process. But at the school, it's very simple. All you have to do is inform your office. Also, in your packets, you have this blue sheet. It gives you the schedule for next year, when school starts and when it's off and everything. Also, Mr. Tanner talked about tips for parents. It's important, we agree. There's this sheet in your packet. It talks about tips for parents, how to help your middle school student. And then there's this white sheet from the California Parent Information Resource Center. Again, it gives you tips how to help your child in school. Okay, now to the questions. Anybody who has a question? Maybe I need to bring the microphone to you. Yes, there's one over there. And please state to whom you're asking your question to any of our panelists or a specific person.
Actually, for the middle schools, I wanted to know if there is any ESL classes for the ESL student, for international newcomers, any help for them in the middle schools?
So if a child comes to the States from another country, and if they speak English as a second language, they're supposed to be tested by the district, and they become English language learners. The question was, what if a student is an English language learner, meaning they have not fully mastered the English language the same way as a student who speaks English only. So do we have specific classes that accommodate students in these situations?
Oh, you can. I was just going to say, yes, there's different levels. If they're brand new to the country and don't speak any English, they will go to Blair. And there's a special newcomer center. If they already have acquired some levels of language, then all the schools accommodate it. The students will take a regular schedule. They will not have an elective, and their elective will be English language development, which is extra support. They will continue to test every year, and then once they reach proficiency based on these exams, then they get what's called reclassified, and then they're just in the regular classes like everyone else.
Okay, So the newcomer center, it's at Blair, and that's where students would go until they are at certain level of English to be able to transfer to regular middle school. That's what the newcomer center is for. Does it answer your question?
I just heard that because we have to register our newcomer. It's 4 months already they in this country, but they don't know English. But we have to register them in Elliott Middle School, which is, I don't know if there is in Elliott School like that. I don't know how we have to do with the Blair Middle School and Elliott School.
Were they tested as Dr. Anders?
They tested in school district.
Yes.
And they're going in the 5th grade now for a month, but still they don't know language yet.
Okay, would you like to answer, Ms. Martinez? We don't know what the level of English is.
Okay, so without knowing the level, we do have level 2s. So they probably will. We need to assess them without knowing the English level. But they absolutely, at my school, we have ELD English, and they will take all of the courses. All of my teachers, every single one of them is qualified to work with English learners. So we also have a core group of kids who will be in what we call the SEDAI, Specialized Designed Instruction in English. So we do have a group of students who will be in those classes in order to develop their English to proficiency and to get them out. And also, they don't take an elective during the day, but we encourage them to go to after-school learns, where they will choose drama and art or music and any of their other interests. The only one I know for sure is not after school right now is robotics, but the rest of the offerings will be there. Okay, so yeah, don't worry about them. They'll be good. Come and talk with me soon.
You said that they're going to Elliott. That's the school they're going to register at? Perfect. Elliott principal and counselor, Mrs. Coors. If you have their English language level, you need to share it with Mrs. Coors, and she'll tell you all the resources at Elliott. Okay, any other questions? 1, 2, and? Okay, there you go.
This is for Ms. Coors. You were saying that with foreign language, it's a 4-year requirement for universities, but with the budget cuts, there's no guarantee with the French or Spanish. How do you handle that?
The minimum. If you could repeat the question in case people.
Okay, the 4-year requirement for a foreign language, the minimum for high school. If you see the minimum requirement, it's 1 year for graduation. For universities like the UC and the Cal State, the high schools have the ability to give you for 3 years or 4 years, depending on when you started. Most of the students who want to go to college and do the UC or the Cal State, they start the foreign language in 9th grade.
There's not always, it has to be the same language.
The same language.
It does not. Oh, okay. You have to have at least 2 years in one language, and then you could do a different language.
Yeah.
Oh. Yes, in the high school for the foreign language requirement, you have to have 2 years of one language, and then you only need a 2-year requirement for colleges for foreign language. They recommend 3, and it's very competitive right now to get in, so you want to do your best. And the 3rd year can be a different language. So you could take 2 years of Spanish and then 1 year of like American Sign Language, but that would require the school to offer multiple languages.
We have a question in the back. Question? Yes. And then I'll come.
She has just one. Maybe she shouldn't have that.
Do you want what? Okay. Decide. Yes, it's yours.
What grade is the KC exam given in?
10th.
Dr. Anderson showed with his hand. It's 10th grade. It's when they start taking it, and they can continue to take it till 12th grade. Yes. Okay.
The question's for Dr. Anderson. The CST scores, what CST scores are they using from 5th grade? Is it the whole year? Is it the last 2 assessments? Do you know which ones they're going to be using to assess placement in class?
Placement in middle school courses, classes?
Yeah, I'm on.
Yeah, CST scores, will they affect, and if they do, what years you consider to place them in middle school courses or classes? For Dr. Anderson.
Sure. Middle school placement is done through multiple different measures: CST scores, grades, teacher recommendations. So obviously, you have already registered for your next year's classes to whatever school you're going to. So we looked at 4th grade was the main one, because we don't have the 5th grade ones. They just took it about 2 or 3 weeks ago. We will get them probably right around the first day of school. So your child will already be in class and already have your teachers. So really the ones we're looking at are the 4th grade ones. And sometimes those are really far off because they have challenges later. That's why we do look at so many other things as well. The ones that we use the most are math, because those are the biggest indicators if they're prepared to move on to the next level. So.
Okay, any other questions? Yes. A follow-up question, of course. Okay.
Open court is used in elementary. Wanted to know what you use in middle school, and will you be changing that? I think there was some talk about changing away from open court, and I don't know if you're even using that. And do they have lockers here at Marshall?
Marshall and other schools too. Okay, let's start. Ms. Martinez, would you like to answer the open court question? Or Ms. Cruz, or?
No open court. It's hard court, and it's very different. But you know, we're one of the things that I'd like you to think about is to going to, and I'm blank on the website right now. We're looking at Common Core standards, and we're looking at 21st century learning. So we are one day, and I think very soon, going away from having one book, and you know, that's our English book for this year. So look a little bit on websites for that. If I can think of it, I'll give it to you. Mr. Anderson might know the answer to that. But we are going away. We're looking at being a little more savvy in how we're teaching kids. We're talking about teaching them critical thinking skills and how to think and how to do project-based learning. So the way we think of middle school, especially in my generation, is very different. We're moving away from that. But no open court, and Dr. Anderson will give you his answer.
Yes, the idea of programs that you're used to in elementary school, that totally changes in middle school. Those don't exist anymore. You go through classes. So this would be English 6, this would be English 7, this was pre-algebra, Algebra 1, and they use different books. The whole country is going through the change to Common Core. The books for Common Core will not come till 2018. So there will be a lot more teaching design created by the teacher as opposed to just I'm scripting from the book. So the next few years will be at times of transition. Some of the middle schools, Marshall, we are going 100% Common Core next year. Some school, we've already have teachers that have been, all the schools have teachers that are piloting it. Some of the schools are doing a little bit more gradual transition. I'm much more aggressive in doing those things. You asked the question about lockers. I don't know if the other middle schools have lockers. We do have lockers here. We have more students than lockers, and the last people to get them are 6th graders. So every 7th grader gets one, every 8th grader gets one, and there's like a lottery and a handful of 6th graders get one. My own opinion, they're more of a nuisance than a help, but sometimes it makes you feel big, you know, I have a locker, but that's what it is.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes? No? Going once? Going, yes. Okay. No.
PEN is putting on a core curriculum class on Monday. So because if she's going to Marshall, do you recommend that we go to that since Marshall's going to go aggressively that way next year? Or does it matter if parents go?
Can you repeat the question, please?
The question was that Monday, I don't know what time, PEN is hosting something about the Common Core curriculum. Do I recommend that you go? I don't know about this program that you just mentioned. I don't know anything about the meeting. But as parents, I would become as well informed as much as you can about it. That is what I suggest that you do, because it is a pretty drastic change. And even, as an administrator, the teachers, it's such a a change in how we're doing things, specifically in math. You won't see as much changes in English. You'll see a lot more writing in science and social studies. And the reason that I am moving so aggressive is in 2014, 2015, we start new assessments. And Kentucky just did them last year, and their scores dropped drastically. So my scores will not drop. So we are going to practice for a whole year first, and so that way we have a trial run, and we mess up this year, skin our knees, and so the next year when the high stakes assessments come in, we've been prepared and our kids are used to the extensive and excessive writing that's going to be happening and the more projects and collaboration that's going to be expected. Some of the things with the Common Core is you have new generation science standards, which are content-based, learn about the Krebs cycle, learn about, the water cycle, but the Common Core overlays that, and it says be able to analyze and interpret a cycle and how it applies to nature, and then they should be able to do that to every single cycle. And so take that home and do that differently now. And then the math ones, it's not just, don't ask why, just invert and multiply. It is now, how do you apply this to your real world applications? I want you to create a project where you are creating a math problem that you can go out and solve in the real world. So, how do we assess that? How do we do that? So we're taking rubrics. The district has a partnership with the Buck Institute. So we're using a lot of the work that's already been done through them. But it's going to be a change, so as much as be a sponge, as much information as you can get it from different sources, because everything's a little bit different, so it's good to have those various perspectives on things.
It's a paradigm shift.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes, there's a question in the back. So we'll take what time it is. I'm not sure what time. 7:45? Okay, we can still take about 2 or 3 questions.
So it's my understanding with the Common Core tests that are coming up, it's going to be done on the computer. Is that correct? And the state that just took the test, it was all computer-based for the students to answer? Okay. So is there anything that helps prepare the students more with keyboarding at this in their computer classes here, so they get more practice with that?
Common Core, you said?
Yeah, just put more.
Okay. Common Core is for elementary, so no. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, then maybe for those of us who are not that much knowledgeable?
Her question was about the assessments for Common Core, but maybe because we're using this language and sometimes this is immersed, this is what I do for my work, so I know a lot about it and I skip and assume everyone is caught up with that. The federal government decided that we should nationalize our state standards, and so they created these new standards called Common Core. They start in kindergarten, they go through 12th grade. They are based on the International Baccalaureate Standards, the California State Standards, the Massachusetts State Standards, and the College and Career Readiness Standards. Yeah, and it breaks down year by year what kids should know. They are much more literacy-based, much more thought process-based than fact-based. A good thing, I didn't say this, but I learned it from someone, is the types of questions, if I could ask a child a question and that child could just look it up on their iPhone and get it, that's not a good question. So the types of questions are, what can you do with all that information we have access to at our fingertips? As part of the Common Core, they've created an assessment consortium called the Smarter Balance Assessment Consortium. It sounds like butter, because I think the Smarter Balance butter, but it's actually called the Smarter Balance Assessment Consortium. With the Smarter Balance tests, they are all done on a computer. And they're done, I don't know if any of you are graduate professionals, if you go take the GRE or the GMAT, you go to a computer and you take the test, and based on how you answer it, changes the questions. So if you do well, you get more difficult questions ahead. And so everyone could be taking a different test. On those questions, they could show you a video of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream, and you listen to a part of it and then you write a response to it. They do have multiple choice, but they have short response. They have technology based. They have a speaking component that they would like to add, but they haven't quite figured out how to do that yet. It's still in the pilot phase. So one of the things is, the better that your child is at being a typist, the better the test will be, because now it's not just knowledge, it's how can I access a computer. And that was the nature of her question, was what are we doing now to prepare our kids to be literate and those things. And that's one of the challenges with having the technology. So there's different forms of technology that are happening, but we are starting now to develop online tests that the kids will have more access in doing it. We went through a phase where kids were all really good typists, and now they're not anymore because they do everything with their thumbs on their cell phones. So they've become no longer good typists. So we are making investments here at the school, and I know the other schools will doing First an iPads. iPads are a little bit more expensive, but then also the Chromebooks. The Chromebooks have keypads on them. You can do the Smarter Balance, and you could put them on a cart, so then teachers could start giving more on level, so they get the practice of, okay, I'm seeing something, I need to type it. But we also still need to, because the AP test right now and the KC is still handwritten, so the skill of handwriting is still very important. So we're not giving up that. We're not swinging the pendulum over. We're going to have a balance between them. So the kids still need to be able to write, and they need to be able to type. They need to be able to do both skills to be successful. So there you go.
Okay, in case we kept on saying KC, anybody who doesn't know, KC is the California High School Exit Exam. So a student may complete all that units on that yellow card, but if they do not pass the California High School Exit Exam, they will not be able to graduate. And one of the questions was, when do they start practicing or doing? It has two pieces, English and math. And maybe in 10th grade, a child will succeed in math, and that's it. They don't need to repeat that. But they have chances in 10th grade, 11th grade, and 12th grade. So it's important for your child, in order to graduate, they need to complete the courses and succeed in the California High School Exit Exam. Any other questions? Okay, thank you for our distinguished panelists. Please let's thank them. Thank you for giving us your personal time and being with us. Thank you so much.